The Sweet Sound of Success show is brought to you by the Mentor Studio. The Mentor Studio is an exclusive mentoring and training program for social influencers, business owners, entrepreneurs, coaches, and startups, bringing personal development to the underserved around the world. And brought to you by Success Strategists. Simple strategies that work to develop your business with flow and ease using proven strategies and the right tactics. This is the Sweet Sound of Success with Sue Wilhite, Profit Attraction Master. By Kay's mid-20s, her health started to deteriorate, and she was constantly told in her 9-to-5 job that she wasn't good enough. Her managers even threatened her job every time she applied for training to better herself, and managers refused to let her get better. Redundancy and restructuring seemed to take place every year, and the fear of "I'm next" was always hovering over her. There was no leadership or support or progression in this horrible, toxic environment. So no surprise, she became depressed and overweight as she tried to struggle to climb both the political and corporate ladder. However, she transitioned from having several health issues at a time to being able to close sales, streamline businesses, and manage their finances in order to hit their monthly targets before embarking on her own business, coaching and training others. Now she has traveled all over the world working with 6 to 9 figure gurus in the digital marketing sector, forming sales procedures and coaching teams on event sales. She is also an award-winning author with a copy of her book in Her Majesty, the Queen of England's private royal library. She had her book launch in Toronto, Canada, where Bob Proctor and Dr. DeMartini presented her with an award of My Inspirational Journey to Success. She's been interviewed on TV and published articles on platforms such as Manhattan Neighborhood Network, The Huffington Post, Roku Channels TV, Amazon Fire TV, Footprint TV, iTunes, and One Tribe magazine. One of her best accomplishments is that she started an English school in Bali, Indonesia, where she lived for 2 years. She started it for the local families who were not able to afford to send their kids to English classes. She had so much success with that, and with an amazing charity called Baliwise. Her role was to use her teachings and information to transform women to being the traditional housewives, to growing and monetizing their skills to achieve a better quality of life for them and their families. Please welcome Kay Suthar. Woo!
Woo! Oh my God, thank you for that amazing introduction.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm so thrilled to have you on my show. You have literally gone from the bottom up and into the stratosphere.
Yes. And I'll tell you something, there's been a lot of ups and downs on that journey.
Right? So this is truly the hero's journey, right? This is what this show is all about. And for those of you who have not encountered the show before, this subtitle of the show is The Hero's Journey for the Entrepreneur's Soul. And it takes the structure of the amazing anthropologist Joseph Campbell's work called The Hero's Journey. And I'm taking 5 pieces out of that multi-part arc. The ordinary beginning, which I always laugh at because no entrepreneur is ordinary. And didn't have an ordinary beginning. I can say this now after more than 30 episodes. The new entrepreneur has an ordinary beginning, no matter what they say.
Right. And I'll
There's
tell you
the call.
something. I've been told since I was younger that I'm a weird person. I was a weird child, right?
Yes.
Right? Yeah. And I'm like, maybe I'm not the weirdo. Maybe it's just everyone else.
Right. So then there's the call to action, bringing you into the world of entrepreneurship. And what I'm sure we're going to be spending a little bit of time with, the big hairy monsters that we kind of alluded to a little bit in your intro.
Mm-hmm.
And then the things that I think are the most important, and it's sort of dealing with people. On the one hand, the mentors, the allies, the guides, the wind beneath your wings, the way, who helped you along the way, because we don't do it by ourselves, right?
No.
You cannot do it by yourself. And we were just talking about what happens when you end up having to do it by yourself.
And that's so funny because I've actually had people tell me that they're going to build and scale their business and they're going to do it all on their own. I've gone, good luck with that.
Right.
I don't know a single successful person that's done it on their own.
Nope, doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. And then the final segment of the show is what Joseph Campbell calls coming home. And it's when the hero has gone out and fought the big hairy monsters and met their destiny and done the things, had the journey, the folks back home haven't necessarily gone along with that journey, haven't faced the same things, haven't done all of that. And sometimes there's a disconnect, sometimes there's a really lovely integration, but when are you going to get a real job?
Oh, don't.
Is our theme song, right?
I can write a whole chapter on just that topic.
Right. So, Kay, what was your weird, ordinary beginning?
Well, gosh, the funny thing is most of my 20s, or even before when I was in school, primary school, and then I went to high school, college, I was just told that the way I think was just weird. My perception was weird, right? What I wanted to do, what I was saying, my opinions were just weird. And for a long time, I grew up thinking that, okay, there must be something wrong with me because everyone's telling me this.
Right.
And so then you start listening to all this chatter because it's people that you hold close to your heart that are telling you this. So you're kind of thinking, well, they must be telling the truth, right?
Right.
And so I remember I kind of grew up high school, college, feeling really insecure, feeling like maybe I should just shut my mouth and not say nothing because someone's going to tell me I'm weird, right? And let's just stay in the background, just listen to everybody else. And most of my 20s, it was funny. That's when I found my voice. When I found my voice, I didn't stop.
Well, we're glad you didn't.
Yeah. And so I remember going from one job to another job, to another job, to another job, to another job. Why? Because growing up, I had no idea what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Right.
No idea. There's people that tell you, oh yeah, I want to work in security. I want to be a teacher. I want to be a pilot. I want to be a nurse. I want to do this. And when people ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I turned around and said, well, I want to be rich.
There you go.
Yeah, like, there. How am I going to do that? When I'm going to do that? I had no idea. But that's what I wanted to be when I was older. And so most of my 20s, I found out that because I didn't know what I wanted to be, what I wanted to do, I was jumping from one job to another job to another job to another job. And I guess I was trying to figure out what it was what I wanted to do, what my purpose was.
Right.
And so I'll go into one job, learn that. All right, now I've learned it. I'm good at it. What's next?
Or
do something else. And what's so funny is everything that I did was completely opposite to the last thing that I did. Right? And so I became a hairdresser. I was an esthetician, right? I did sign language and worked with youths that were deaf and did interpreting. Then I decided I want to become an MMA fighter and train to be a fighter doing that. Yeah. Like, then I became a police officer.
Wow.
I worked in magistrates court for a little while. I worked in politics with Liberal Democrat during the London elections. And it was just so varied. I did voiceovers for children books. I happened to fall into acting and then did a bit of stage acting,
Okay, Kay, I have to say you win the award for most varied career. You absolutely win. You're done. That's it. You've raised the bar way high.
Right.
But good for you.
Right.
Good for you. Because I think I just want to say that I think it's really important for people to know that just like in dating, which is dating, not a 20-year commitment, that you can, if you really aren't passionate about something, if there's something, if you don't have that guiding star going, I'm going to be a veterinarian when I grow up, then testing different things is okay.
That's right.
Okay to figure out what it is that you want to do and to have a serial career as long as that's okay with you.
Right.
It's perfectly fine.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with not having it all figured out.
Yes.
Even though your parents will tell you, right? You need to find a good
do
job.
Something and stay with it.
Right? Oh my goodness. Yes. People were telling me constantly, you're living your life wrong. You need to find a job. You need to stick with it. You retire, then you live your life.
You need to settle down.
Oh my goodness. Yes. What's that? When are you going to get married? When are you going to settle down? When are you going to have kids? And coming from an Indian background, like that's your culture.
Right.
Right. And I kind of went against the grain constantly. And then when my parents found out that I want to do MMA fighting and become a police officer, they went crazy.
Oh, I bet they went ballistic. Yes.
Yeah. And do you know what the funny thing is that you can't see on the digital format? Is that I'm only 4'11".
Okay then.
And so
good for you.
Right. But what I found is that every time someone told me I couldn't do something, every time someone put me down, right, instead of now getting insecure about it, I use that as fire just to keep going, right, and to prove them wrong.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
That's exactly what I did. But also what I learned, just like in business, you need to learn to pivot. The reason why I was able to do so many varied jobs is because I knew how to pivot, right? Because what people need to realize that things are going to constantly change. Change is actually freaking awesome. You've got to learn to change. And I think that the biggest thing that people have learned regards to change is the recent thing that's happened with the pandemic, right? And you can see that those businesses that haven't or had to close down because they couldn't push forward is because they couldn't pivot.
Right. They couldn't accept new ideas. They couldn't come up with new ideas. They couldn't respond to their customer base in a way that or seek out a new customer base.
Right. Or they couldn't transform their brick and mortar and go digital because that's where the world is going now.
Right.
And so kind of reflecting back, I'm like, I've already proven that I can totally freaking pivot. Being creative, being able to think out the box, being able to pivot is all the things that you need, not just in life, but in business to keep going. Right. And so at the time when I was going through all this, I had no idea. I'm like, why is this happening to me? why am I changing so many jobs? Why can't I just find one that I like? And then I think it was in my 30s where I stopped questioning it. And I just went with it. And when I was about 30, I realized what it was I wanted to do. And I wanted to work in live events.
Oh,
Right?
nice.
Do you know what the funny thing is? I've had experience on almost everything apart from live events.
But
Right?
you got everything else out of the way first.
And so I had no qualifications, I had no experience. And now people were telling me, oh my gosh, you're living in like a dream world. Like, who's going to employ you? You have no qualifications, you have no experience, you don't know what you're doing. It's not going to happen. Right. And
Right.
so I was like, no, this is what I want to do. Again, I have no idea how I'm going to do it, what's going to happen, but this is what I want to do. And when I was in the police force and I left because I had a huge health issue, right? And what had happened is that I went to sleep one night perfectly fine. I woke up the next morning, jumped in the shower, and found that my body came out in a rash. All came out in a rash. And as soon as the hot water hit my skin, it was like on fire. No idea where that came from.
Wow.
And so I jumped out, went to look in the mirror, and I was completely covered in this rash. So I went to the hospital, had all these tests done to find out what is actually going on with me. And I waited in the consultation room for my doctor to come in to give me my results. He walked in, and as soon as he saw me in the room, he turned around and said, "You were lucky you got here when you did." So I said to him, "What do you mean? What's going on?" He's turned around and said, "If you didn't get here when you did, your throat would have closed up." Yeah. And I was like, holy crap, what if my throat closed up while I was asleep? I've never woken up the next morning.
Right.
So I said to him, how did this happen? What's going on? Like, where did it come from? And he said that this particular form of rash is due to being overly stressed. And when I think about it, at the time I didn't realize that me being a police officer was actually impacting me internally, because when you are a police officer, you're around negativity 24/7. There's nothing positive about it.
Right.
And so I guess it was stressing me mentally, emotionally, and physically, but I didn't understand how much until that happened. And they always say stress is a silent killer.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that's when I decided that I've got to quit my job because it's my life on the line now.
Yes.
You know, and what's so ironic is that I thought if I was going to lose my life, it would be in the line of duty.
Right. Not this rash that would have strangled you in your sleep. Right.
Exactly.
Wow.
Which is so freaking ironic, right?
Right.
And so I decided to quit. And that's when I pursued working in events. But
so that was kind of your call to action.
Yes, it was. And then all of a sudden, I'm on the journey of my entrepreneurial journey to kind of figure out, okay, I was like, right, next, what am I going to do? Oh, wouldn't it be great to have my own business right. and be my own boss, right? Again, no idea what I'll be selling, what product, what service, no idea. I was like, okay, so this is where my entrepreneurial journey started. And so it's funny because the minute I quit that job, all these doors of opportunity started opening. And I'm like, hold on a second, why did no one tell me all I needed to do was quit my job? Like, I would have done that years ago if that was the case, you know? And so
it's like that was the dam that was holding it all off. It's like, no, I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to, oh, wait, I'm not going to do this anymore. Whoa.
Right. And so I didn't have a plan B, really. I was like, okay, I've got 6 months of money to survive on, and I can have 6 months to figure this out. But because all these doors started opening up, I didn't get 6 months. I didn't even get 3 months. I didn't get 1 month.
Oh my goodness.
I didn't even get a week. Right?
Wow.
I remember a friend of mine asking me to come to one of the events that she was hosting in London. And I was like, no, 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 I've just quit my job. I'm going to go home. I don't want to do nothing for a while. And she's like, no, 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 just come down. If you don't like it, then leave.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I'll go down. And I went there, and there were like a bunch of guys suited and booted. There were bankers, there were accountants, and I'm like, this really isn't my scene, right? So I did what most people would do, went to an event and went straight to a bar and ordered a drink. I ordered a drink, and this guy came up, and I was like, oh God, here we go again, another chat line. No, he started asking me, what kind of jobs have I had? What's my experience? What I want to do? What my qualifications are? And I'm answering all these questions that he's asking me. And I'm like, hold on a second. Who are you?
Right.
Right. And he goes to me, you would be fantastic on my team as a campaign manager. So I'm like, okay, campaigning for what? What do you do? Who are you? He goes, I'm a member of parliament. I'm like, oh, okay. And he works under Nick Clegg, who was the Liberal Democrat leader. And we were in the middle of elections, and he asked me to join his team. So I left my policing job on a Friday and then started working as a campaign manager for politics, Liberal Democrat, the following Tuesday. Right?
There you go. Boom.
Right, exactly. And so as I started working, obviously politics is very, very different. You learn a lot. There's a lot of networking. But the number one thing that I learned about politics was they have more criminals in politics than there are in prisons.
I'm so surprised. Well, this is my surprised face.
But it's different when you see it and hear it for yourself,
right,
of what goes on. And I'm like, hold on a second. If I ended up in hospital as a police officer, there's no way I'm going to be able to survive politics, right? It's not going to happen. So I kind of said to him, all right, goodbye, not for me, right? And I was like, okay, what am I going to do next? Don't know. I had another opportunity arise. Now, this time, they said to me, oh, we're looking for someone to manage our event sector for our company. I was like, holy crap, yes, I want to do events. I want to do live events.
There we go.
And they said to me, it's going to be international. Do you mind traveling? I was like, no, hell no. I'm good with that. And they were like, okay, great. You're on board. They were like, what you need to do now is go pack your bags because you're needed in Malaysia in 2 days. I'm like, okay. I'm like, what about flights? What about hotels? And they were like, oh no, the company's sorting all that out. You just got to make sure you're at the airport. And I'm like, awesome. So my first live event, going in there completely blank, not knowing anything about live events. Wow. I was in Malaysia 2 days after that phone call. And so that's when I started learning about live events. I became manager of events. Then I started learning about sales, because the great thing was that these live events, guess what? They were all business events.
Right. So they're selling in the back of the room.
Yes, right. Exactly.
Yes.
And in fact, that was the very first event that I went to in Malaysia, where I met Ken Crowell.
Oh, Ken Crowell. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so,
oh God, I've got to get him on my show.
Definitely. And so it was at that point my entrepreneurial journey actually started. And then I was trying to be like a sponge and just learning from everybody, because now you're in the right environment to just learn off of everybody, right? I'm now meeting these gurus, these experts that are speaking on stage about how they got to where they are. And so I'm just soaking it all up. And I was doing that for years and years and years. And I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome. I get to travel, which is all paid for, hotel, food, accommodation, and they're paying me for my services.
There you go.
I was on the peak, right? I was like, nothing could go wrong.
Whoops.
Yeah, that was a huge mistake.
I'm hearing a big hairy monster appearing on stage.
Oh, this was a big one. And so this company asked me to go and deal with this new resort that they've built in Costa Rica. New resort, everyone that's doing the mastermind, which was about 60K program, right? They were all flown off, or they're going to Costa Rica at this resort to just mastermind, learn more things, scale their business, right? We got a studio there, we had video production, like it was huge. And it was so nice. It was on the beach, right? So you can look out on the beach, amazing. Had a swimming pool, palm trees, sun, coconuts, right? I was like, this is the life. If I'm working in a place like this is freaking amazing. This is paradise, right? I've got no issues with that. I had my own apartment the company was paying for, right? I had a driver that would pick me up from my apartment, take me to the resort, work at the resort, like it was heaven.
Yeah, dream life. We got that.
Yeah, exactly. It was amazing. I was meant to be there for 3 to 4 months. I was like, I've got no issues being under the sun for that long. Not a problem. And I was there for 3 weeks. Yes, 3 weeks. What had happened is the US government shut this company down.
Oh, no.
Just like that.
Wow. Whoops.
And accounts got frozen.
Right.
Never got paid. Was then evicted because now the company could no longer pay for this apartment.
Right.
I had no food. I had no water. I had nothing, not even the basic essentials to survive.
And you're stuck in Costa Rica.
I'm stuck in Costa Rica and I don't speak the language.
Oh my goodness. Oh, this is a very, very big, very, very hairy monster with long, nasty teeth and claws.
Yeah, and I was just like,
no, really, what? This is, I'm getting anxious. Just you obviously got out of it, but oh my God.
Yeah, and I was like, how did this just happen? What just happened?
Right.
And now we've got these clients at our event, right? Now wondering what the hell is going on because they're not able to access their information.
Right.
So is that right? So we got to keep it together because now there's clients in the room. Obviously, social media that we're going to find out.
Right.
Right. So we had to tell them, right? That was the professional thing to do, right? Rather than keeping it from them. And basically, we just had to figure out how the hell are we going to get out of this situation now?
Yeah.
And so I was with 2 other colleagues at the time, and they were pulling out their hair. They were stressing out because now the account that we had in Costa Rica has been shut down. We didn't have access to the money. And so that, what the hell do we do? And do you know what was funny? Because I have that weird mindset that everyone complains about, right? I could not stop laughing. I could not stop laughing and giggling about this situation.
Well, I bet that went over really well with other people.
People were saying, what is wrong with you? Why are you laughing?
Right.
What's going on? And I said to them, think about it. These big entrepreneurs, Tony Robbins, Les Brown, weren't they homeless at one point?
Right. Right.
Look at where they are now. I said to them, I was like, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm on the right freaking track.
You got a story.
Yeah, right? So I was like, right, I'm on the right track. I'm going to be a millionaire. It's all good. And because I wasn't stressed out, frustrated, overwhelmed, my vision was clear. And because of that, I was able to get creative and think outside the box. Now, the good thing about it was, if I wanted to sleep out on the beach, I could. It was lovely weather.
Right.
But what I decided and what I figured was that being around all these entrepreneurs, all these business owners, I've learned a hell of a lot of stuff about sales, about marketing, how to bring leads in.
Right.
So I went back to this resort, and the resort didn't shut down because the owner was very smart and kept it as a separate entity. Right. However, now they've got an empty resort because they were relying on these students
to
come and fill it.
Pay the bills, right?
Right. But now they've got bills coming in and no clients. So I went up to the resort manager and told her, I will help you with your marketing. I'll help you bring leads in. We can get photos. We'll create all this amazing stuff. We'll get it out there so people will come in and at least you'll be able to pay the bills.
Right.
Right. And then I showed her all the stuff that we've done in the past, reviews from people. And she goes to me, how'd you learn all this stuff? And I'm like, the owner.
Yeah.
Right. When you go into these events and you're paying attention, there's a hell of a lot of stuff you can learn.
Right. Right.
So,
and I'll just say that your idea is one that you hear a lot. I mean, we've heard it from Michael Silvers, we hear it from Ken Krell. If you offer to be of service to people, it's a far better thing. You're going to receive more by saying and saying, hey, how can I help you? Than by going, gimme.
Right. Exactly. But I said I can help you, but in return, I need food, water, and shelter.
Right.
Exactly. And if they had to hire a coach to do this for them, it would be thousands of dollars. So I'm not asking for much in return. Plus, they've got an empty hotel anyway now.
Right. What's one room?
Exactly. And so sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, for the purposes of time in the show, I want to know how the story came out, and I just want to move it along a little bit and say, I know that people are going to want to contact you. I'm actually doing something that I really hate in other shows, but we're going to leave it on a cliffhanger.
Oh, okay.
We're going to leave it on a cliffhanger, and I'm going to encourage people to reach out to Kay and get the rest of her story. Now, you have a book. Is the story in the book? Or
yes, so a lot of the adversities I dealt with in my younger years before I hit the entrepreneurial journey, a lot of that is in there, so they can read that.
Okay. Well, they're just going to have to get in touch with you and schedule a one-on-one to find out how the story ends.
Oh, interesting. I love
it. And be able to get in touch with you, because you're brilliant. I mean, you think outside the box. You've done this entrepreneurial journey, and you've been able to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You've got stuff that you can share with people. You've got stuff that you can teach people, and it's worthwhile for people to contact you. At least I think so.
Thank you. So before we go, I wanted to ask you a question. Is it okay that I give your audience a free gift?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Amazing.
So they're going to get a twofer. They get the answer, and they'll get
a free gift, right?
They get a free gift. Oh, that's awesome. That's perfect. Yes. So how would you deliver that? Is there a link or?
Yes. So what I'm going to do is actually on my website. If people go to www.uncensoredsociety.com, that's the name of my company. That has a different story in it altogether and how I came about that name.
Uncensored Society.
Yes.
.com. Okay. We'll put it down below.
Awesome. They will be able to download a free gift on there, a little mini course. And what that does, it helps people to really sit down and think about what their long-term and short-term goals are. A lot of people say that they don't have time. That's the biggest excuse. They don't have time. They don't have the resources. Well, actually, when you crack down and knuckle down and actually see where you're using your time,
Right.
whether you are using it by watching, Netflix for 6 hours per day, well, that's not being very productive.
Rolling through social media.
Right. You can probably be a lot more productive in building your business, right? So there's worksheets there. There's also a video on me explaining how to use the worksheets and how to actually sit down and come from being busy to being productive. Okay. And
Awesome.
again, that's from our website. And then on top of that, what they can do is join my Facebook group, the Uncensored Society group, where they'll get further accountability, further support. And if I do have to give a kick up the backside, I will do. Again, this is just a hint as to why it's called Uncensored Society. We are very raw, real, and relentless in making sure that people achieve their dreams.
That's wonderful. And sometimes that's what people need,
Oh, yeah.
And if nothing else, if there is anybody out there who's watching or listening to the show who are stuck in a bad job, stuck in a toxic environment, whether it's a job or life, maybe Kay and the Uncensored Society is the thing that you need to boot yourself out of this and start your own hero's journey, right?
Definitely.
So thank you. Thank you, Kay.
Worries.
Bless your heart. So thank you for being on the show. And I want to thank my listeners and watchers of the sweet sound of success. What are your dreams for your business? You know what drives me crazy? Really smart business owners denying their talents because they've been taught it has to be hard, because they've been taught that they don't deserve their gifts, that they're not worth anything. They've been taught that their gender means they can't express their genius. I'm Sue Wilhite, and I want you to have access to your genius. I want you to go out and rock the world with your genius. So I created the Call to Action Coaching Program. It's all about getting to the heart of you and what you've got to share with the world to make a profitable business that thrives and allows you to make a difference in the world. Click the link to sign up for the Call to Action Coaching Program today. Don't let your genius go unnoticed.